to solve that? We need some incentives from government, and I will put that straightforward, right? Now, we need credible off-takers. When the healthcare folks presented, they said they need financing, right? But us, we have financing. There is no problem with financing at all. We just need credible off-takers. We need organized off-takers within the industrial space, and then we will bring our money with our partners, and we'll deliver 50, 100 megawatts within 10 months. Not 1 year, 10 months.
I think you've made your point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So we now have the oil that will make us successful into the future. So can we have the IPNX lady wrap it all up so that we are comfortable with our infrastructural rollout?
His Excellency, good afternoon, sir. I'll stand on existing protocols. The moderator said the fourth revolution is here, and I agree completely with him. It's all about data. It's all about blurring the lines between the physical, biological, and digital. It's only interconnectivity that can help us achieve that. There's been a long debate about which technology or infrastructure will best deliver last-mile connectivity for the 21st century. That debate is over. It's settled. Fiber won it. Undisputable. I represent a company called IPNX Nigeria Limited. We've been around for 20 years, delivering in the last 6 years fiber optic technology in different parts of Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And I believe Anambra in the near future. What do we need? For right-of-way, for fiber optic technology deployment, right-of-way has been a major issue from my experience. So we would require a lot of support from the government in that regard. This challenge is being faced all over Nigeria, and we've had different forums with the federal government of Nigeria, and different discussions have been agreed on, but implementation from the state governments have been an issue. The next thing that we will need is tax incentives. So fiber optic technology requires very huge investment in capital. It's undisputably the best technology. To deliver all that we have talked about today, we've talked about so many things, and apart from power, data is the next thing that can make all of that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kene. So I think the next is for us to clap for them, and then the photographer to take the pictures, and then we are happy to have had you listen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just a prize, I beg of you, for group photograph. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, once again for them. Yes, it's been a wonderful evening, a wonderful day. We started in the morning, and very soon we'll bring this to a conclusion. And we will go to the next on the agenda, which is remarks by leading Anambra industrialists. And I will start by one great Onyanambra. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome as I invite to talk to us for 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the MD CEO of Juhel Nigeria Limited, Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye. Please put your hands together for this great industrialist.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, my stand on existing protocol. I think one very important thing we must know is that no investor, however good, however friendly, or however related he is to you, we want to invest where he will not make profit. An investor wants to go where he will have his business grow and of course, make money. One thing I think I've understood here is the fact that the government are actually out to encourage people like us that are already here. If you look at the way the organizers handle this program, you see that they've encapsulated most of the things industrialists want to have to make this program whatever it is. They started with education and health, went into ICT. In fact, as I'm here talking to you, we're already discussing with UNIZIK, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, to be able to deliver some essential drugs, most especially drips, to the rural areas using drones, because we know that Nnamdi Azikiwe University, as we are talking now, are making drones, the students there. And for this type of program, that means you are actually having insight where we are going. Then you talked about tourism and infrastructure, which is the last program you discussed. But I'm surprised that when the hospitality and tourism discussants were talking, they never mentioned the industrialists. They were talking about culture and all that, forgetting that without industries being available, you might not have people that will patronize your hotels. So that is why I think the idea is towards the right direction. Then that takes me down to the other infrastructures. Jirika called it soft infrastructures. Why are we here in Anambra State with industrialists? How are we surviving? So we want to let you know a little bit the little encouragement we're having. One is what every other person says, that the government has provided security. Of course, before now, most of us do have police and army very close to our industries, thanks to what is happening now. And then the roads are part of the facts that the infrastructure group just discussed. Without road, of course, nothing, whatever, you can't even have raw materials to your factory, not to talk of taking out the finished goods. Another very important one is that the government has tried a lot to streamline the levies. If you call them taxes, fine. We know that in some states, most times you have people knocking at your gate asking you to pay one thing or the other. The government has streamlined it in such a way that you will know what you're paying if at all you have to pay. And then they also created an easy access to the government officials so that where you don't actually understand what is happening, you can go to any of the government officials, be it chief of staff, be it any of the commissioners, and get full facts of what you're doing. There is nothing as comfortable as that. Then another one is government patronage. If you are in a state, and maybe I'll use my colleague in Austin as an example, and the state decides to buy vehicles and they don't buy yours. Of course, it's a massive discouragement. And it's applicable to others. We're all picking rice a lot now from Coscaris and all that. However, there are facts that the state government might not be able to do themselves. There are issues like, I'll tell you a short story. Before now, around the 70s, between the early 70s and late 90s, you can't believe it that more than 50% of containers that come into Lagos find themselves down to Onitsha and then sold back to Lagos. And this started dropping within the early 2000s. Now, about less than one quarter will find their way down to Onitsha. But the most important thing is that we believe the government will talk to the right people, because if Onitsha, River Niger Onitsha is not dredged enough to at least allow mini ships to bring in goods, at least to minimize our access to raw materials, we'll still be having a little problem. As I'm talking to you now, the One Port Harcourt in fact, Port Harcourt is the most patronized port outside Lagos. But the big ships bet in Togo, in Lome, they stop in Lome. Then smaller ships will start taking goods from Lome into Nigeria, into Port Harcourt. And that messes a lot of us up. So, in a nutshell, I think another very important thing that will encourage those that want to join us is that the state government has put everything under one table, and that is the ANSIPA. When we established ours, we had a lot of issues. We worked day and night, visited several times just to establish a small industry. But now, under a particular roof, which we now call ANSIPA, thank God Ike Chioke is here, and the MD Ikako. The state government has made it very easy for new investors. Under one roof, the ANSIPA, you walk in, you finish everything right from sourcing your land to final completion of your factory. So I thank you very much for making this possible and providing this forum for us to share the facts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please put your hands together for Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, Juhel. By the way, in 1987, this man you see here founded the first indigenous pharmaceutical manufacturing company in the old Anambra state and named it Juhel, Nigeria. Today, it's not just one of the largest pharmaceutical drug manufacturing companies in Nigeria, but the largest manufacturer of high-quality blow-fill-seal aseptically manufactured intravenous medicines in the entire West Africa. Put your hands together for Juhel. The next leading industrialist of Anambra extraction to speak to us is probably the best example of a successful young entrepreneur. And he's going to speak for 3 minutes. He's a proud beneficiary of the Tony Elumelu Mentorship Program, who has vowed to mentor the youth the way he was mentored. A man who believes that your passion determines your portion. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Stanley Ozochukwu, the CEO of Stanley Group, Nigeria, West Africa. One, you're looking good. Dalo.
Your Excellency, please permit me to stand on already existing protocol. Amongst the other issues that have been raised here, one that I want to talk about is on the issue that concerns security. And one of the panelists here asked, why should she come to Anambra that she's just hearing that it's safe? I'm here to testify that indeed I run a facility that has not closed down for the past 2 years. We came into Anambra State 2 years ago, and we run a 24-hour service. We have not shut down for 1 minute, and we have not recorded one incident. Anambra State is indeed very, very safe. And for investors, there are some things that discourage most of us from going to invest. Those things are not practices that you see here in this administration. Cutting corners and all of that. We came into Anambra State and it took us only 1 week and we had our CFO delivered to us. No kickbacks and all of that. And of course, we are also encouraged. That's why we have also made Anambra State our next stop of investment, where we are investing in farms and agricultural products, finishing materials and all of that in Ozubulu, which by the mercy of God should start up by in 2 weeks' time. So I want to encourage all of us here, all well-meaning Indian and Igbo people here, to make Anambra State our next stop investment location. Thank you very much.
Put your hands together for... At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I hope we are doing well. Are you enjoying yourselves? All right. A few months ago, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, in his wisdom, chose this great man to serve in his economic team. Just last week, His Excellency the Governor of Anambra State, Chief Willie Madabrochukwu Obiano, in his wisdom, chose this great man to lead his 51-man Anambra 50-year development plan committee. There is something about this man. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite for his remarks the Professor of Economics, the Chairman of the Board, of the former Chairman, former CBN Governor, Chief Professor Chukwuma Charles Soludo.
Very much. Your Excellency, Deputy Governor, the Speaker, and my own Chairman, Anambra Gidi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mine is simply to make a few remarks in respect of the newly inaugurated Anambra 50-year Development Plan Committee. The work that we've been assigned to do, the motivation, the impetus for that, the way we intend to do that, and most importantly, the role that all of you have to play in that particular venture. We've listened all through today, and the theme, the sub-theme of this particular summit is rethinking the future. And the 50-year development plan, appropriately, it fits the bill in terms of the overarching long-term destination where we want to go. And I want to commend His Excellency. We've listened, we saw the presentations on the various projects, roads, there from the micro, macro, institutional, structural, and someone speaking was talking about the other things to bring people to Anambra. And I only wanted to say, well, I didn't see something about the International Conference Center. And I said to somebody next to me, wait until the International Conference Center and the airport are finished. Then you'll really see the true Akpokwe signature. The 50-year development plan happened to be one legacy that I believe His Excellency wants to leave behind as he leaves office for Anambra's future, now that we are focusing on the futures. Anyway, let me get down to that and I'll provide a few justifications for that. Well, what you have there on the screen is just a teaser, just to get you, stir up your imaginations. If you look at how our nature is now, well, just imagine our nature in 50 years' time. Abogide is here. It's visualizing. I don't know where the palace will be by then. And that's Oka 2020 and probably that Champs-Élysées in Paris. Trying to envision, and then just to entice you a little bit, you saw the Akpokwe thing down there. Probably by then the Champs-Élysées street will envelop it and have a little bit more. Newi. Huh? Yeah. You see the Newi on your left-hand side presently. Probably in 2070, looking more like Taipei, Taiwan, as it were. And then, well, in this bit, let me just entice you, kind of a teaser as to what we intend to do in this 50-year development plan committee. A word of introduction. We'll take you through that, then the membership and participation, the process outline, and then ask the question, how do you participate? By way of introduction, we ask 2-3 questions. Why the plan? Why now? What's new? What's different? And in terms of why the plan, of course, it is an Anambra's long-term plan for security, prosperity, and happiness of the Anambra. 2 short quotes. Only those who plan can control the future. Then the second one is that if you don't know your destination, then any road will take you there. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've been doing by way of short-term planning, short-term electoral cycles, every 4 years a new election is conducted. A governor has a maximum of 8 years. But then, all the countries of the world that we do give examples of as having long-term visionary development programs or plans, Singapore, Malaysia, and all those, where one particular leader, prime minister or so, happened to be in power for 30-something years. And there were one political party in power for 3, 4, 5 decades with consistent plan, long-term plan that they consistently implemented for decades. But in our own case, we've got short-term electoral cycles, and what I then have is what I call sequential discontinuities. In this, everybody comes with his own short-term plans, almost a bit populist plan, because the people want you to do something. And you are battling between stomach infrastructure and, as they say, ana alu ilo, ana alu madu. While you are battling between those two, the 8 years will come by. And the question is, where do all of these things end? And I want to say what the governor is trying to do, has empaneled us to do, is for us to move from sequential discontinuities to systematic continuity. And I think that's what this plan is all about. Though short-term agenda is a sure route to secular underdevelopment, the sustained commitment to long-term vision for all the countries that we do mention has been the way that many of the other countries have actually transformed on a long-term basis, including in Africa recently, Rwanda and Ethiopia. And our point here is that it's even particularly more important for Anambra, given our geography and demography. This is a state after Lagos in terms of the size of the states. Is second only to Lagos in terms of landmass. Smallest, as it were. And then, but this is a place that you expect probably some 40 million people by 2070, in the next 50 years. Probably estimated about 10 million today. The next 30 years, we probably have about 25 million. Then 50 years, as we continue to prosper, there will also be huge migration down to Anambra State. These 40 million people will need roads, they will need water, they will need housing, they will need sewage disposal, they will need facilities, they will need schools for their children and so on. And then we ask the question, why now? I could speak on this for hours, but let's make the point. Nigeria is planning to transit beyond oil. An economy without oil. In that world, if you read a book about Taiwan entitled, Pass the Books, Hold the Oil, our greatest resource will be our human capital. And Anambra happened to be a hub bounded by both the North, Kogi, the South, Delta, rivers, and then the Southwest, Abia, Imo, and Enugu states. Anambra is a hub. What kind of future do we see? When, for example, they finish the second Niger bridge, and you have like an Asaba or Nesha mega city meshing into one mega city, one can almost visualize the skyscrapers of Hong Kong along the banks of the River Niger. What kind of future do we really see of Anambra? And in that world of global disruptive changes, what Governor Obiano has impaneled is to leave a legacy for Anambra that we can have a future trajectory for our people so that successive governments would then derive their respective work programs from this long-term trajectory. And so that if the trajectory is maybe from here to there, this is the pathway that Anambra have agreed to go. One government could go a little to the left or a little to the right, but you are still within the long-term trajectory. In 50 years, you can then have a destination. Like we said, if you don't know your destination, any road will take you there. And so we see this as a legacy that Governor Obiano is leaving. And I'm dwelling on this point because I saw some people trying to misinterpret it and saying, he has got barely 2 years to go. Why is he dealing with 50 years? Is he planning on a third and fourth term and so on? It is not a plan that Governor Obiano is going to implement, but as a legacy to help us think through the uncertain, disruptive future that awaits the entire world. I can go on about where the world is going, where the world is likely to be in the next 50 years, but we don't have time here. And by the way, there are parallels to this. Nigeria had Vision 2010. That was pioneered by Sani Abacha. But he wasn't going to be in office till 2010, except he became a lifetime dictator, even if. When I was leaving office as well, we prepared what we call Financial System Strategy 2020, which we left behind. And I'm glad to know that because it was owned and still being owned by the entire financial system, people in the financial sector, that FSS 20 still subsists till today because everybody owns it. I think that is the kind of plan that Governor Obiano wants us to work on. Now, what's going to be new? There are two key areas that's going to be new about this plan. The first is that it's the first such long-term perspective plan for Anambra. It's not for a specific government, it's for subsequent governments. Second is going to be the first participatory, broadly owned plan, a plan for the people, by the people. Well, membership, you see the members, you've already seen that on your brochure. But let me say a word or two about that. The current membership is not enough. More people are still going to be co-opted. We're going to have more than 10, 15 subcommittees, and with the current 40-something members, that will come down to maybe 3, 4 members at worst. And with the more subcommittees that we're going to have to work on the various aspects of the plan, we will demand any and every person in the Anambra and everybody else who believes he has something to contribute extraordinarily to this long-term future, the vision of our state, or even our neighbors, to please comfort, volunteer to participate, volunteer by way of contributions, and we will gladly welcome you into our committee. Okresibo has been calling me and telling me he has a proposal, an agenda for sports development, and I told him we'll give him the link to send us his own proposals. With ICT, every person in the Anambra, in diaspora, everybody can participate. Now, there is also going to be a steering committee. A steering committee will be the group of leaders of our state. Call them the real stakeholders, to whom we will be presenting various parts of this work as we proceed. As we lay out every stage, we will go back to them for validation, for their own input, for their criticisms, for their contributions. And this steering committee, His Excellency will be inaugurating that pretty soon. And that steering committee will be chaired by our revered Obi of Onitsha, Abogidi. He will be heading the steering committee of this. And then we'll be having public, stakeholder public consultations. And then everybody else is called upon to contribute. We have an email address there. We'll have a second email address, but this one, you'll get that. That's in terms of process. I wouldn't like to take you through all of this, but while that is mean, we discussed this at the committee itself. But it then says we've got the inputs by the stakeholders. That is the only reason I'm putting this, is that the input from the stakeholders, from everybody else who makes any input will go into our baseline, will also feed into the works of the subcommittees, and from time to time, about 3 times, we'll be making, at least 3 times, we'll be making presentations to this group of the eminent people, the stakeholder, the steering committee. That will also include all former governors, all former public office holders, former senators, retired judges, retired who is who, leaders of the various stakeholder groups in Anambra and so on will be in that steering committee. The bishops of the various denominations, representatives of the churches, societies, and so on and so forth, we will have them validate each of these processes as we go on. Because the intention is that it must be an Anambra plan. It's not a plan of a political party. It's not a plan of a particular government. It's a plan by India, of India Anambra, by India Anambra. That is the whole idea. The stakeholder public consultations that will be consulted, of course, the governor and the MDAs, the state judiciary, National Assembly members, as I've just mentioned. Political parties, yes, political parties will also be consulted. All political parties, we're going to write to all of you. Give us those fantastic ideas that you have about the state and proposals, so we incorporate all of them. So that irrespective of who comes on board, we all own it. I left office more than 10 years ago, and you've had 2 governors of central bank. But the office of the FSS 2020 is still there because it's owned by everybody. So when you turn on BVN or this on the payment system, and it's all part of the FSS 2020. So this is all what it is. We've listed out, and the general public, everybody will be called upon to make a contribution. Okay. Now, here is a possible broad outline. Ladies and gentlemen, the plan that we are thinking about is a comprehensive development plan. It will encapsulate all aspects of the Anambra transformation process. It will not only, it will cover economic development, social development, and yes, ecological and environmental development, planning, town and city planning. These last 2, number 3 and 4, are very, very critical. Otherwise, we will be developing in a haphazard manner that might end up into one large conglomerate of a squalor, as it were. We better begin to have a trajectory. You go to London and go to Hyde Park, you see a park that has existed over 2,000 years, as it were, still maintained as it was more than 2,000 years ago. Here, you start one, the next government comes, it shares the land, and and so on and so on. So everywhere will be developing into some kind of a squalor. And that's why we need to be clear about the type of Anambra that we need. Law, institutions, and governance. How about Anambra being the place, the number 1 in Nigeria in terms of the rule of law, as it were, and protection for property rights? There is the number 6, identity, in terms of values and culture. What does it mean to be said that this person, Onya Anambra, what does it mean? Our identity, who are we, as the case may be. Then synergies with our neighbors and Nigeria, and then, of course, financing the plan and implementation. The next is simply ask the question, how do you participate? This is the whole, I think that is the objective of this whole presentation, is to be able to say to the general public, we are open to ideas. It's not, nothing is cast on stone. We are not operating with preconceived notions as to how it will be. Whatever our own individual views might be, we want to go through an expansive and extensive consultation and participatory process whereby we call on everybody who has any contribution to make to us to come and join us. And as I said, this is the time to contribute your visions, your plan for Anambra, or forever keep your cool, as it were. It remains for me to say thank you very much, and let's get it done. In 2050, we can then say bequeath a new state and so on to Anambra. Thank you, Your Excellency, for impaneling this committee, and we then invite everybody to please join us in crafting a new Anambra of the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes. Ndibai, ezigbo nwa Anambra, onwekwa swag ka governor anyị. Please put your hands together for him. Yes. An extraordinary onye Anambra, giving a job by an extraordinary governor. Now, at this juncture, may I invite the man who has been standing always beside the governor to move the state forward. May I have the honor and privilege of inviting Dr. His Excellency, Dr. Nkem Okeke, the Deputy Governor of Anambra State. Ugobuzu Ochake, Osuo II. Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Anambra State, Abokwe Global. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think the time is fast spent. Let me stand on already established protocols. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've sat for several hours to listen to the story of Anambra State. Listen to the story of our governor, his vision, his mission for this state. But after all said and done, the bottom line is simply asking and pleading that we should all come to invest in this great state. I think no matter of grammar that you can blow, he's simply saying, come and invest in any sector you want to invest in. Of course, before you can ask somebody to come to your place to invest, you must do your own part. You must create the enabling environment for investment to take place. Of course, the first thing the governor has done is to provide the necessary security for investment to happen. Without investment, nothing can happen. The next is to create ANSIPA. For a businessman, time is money. A businessman doesn't want to waste his time going from one ministry to another, looking for one certification or paper. That's why we created ANSIPA. We have also improved in the ease of doing business. A couple of months ago, I went to Abuja to represent the governor, where we are ranked the 5th improved state in the ease of doing business in the Federation. Of course, we don't like to do things second, third, fourth, fifth. We want to come first. So we're working towards being the first and the best improved state in the ease of doing business. We're also saying, come to Anambra because we have good roads. A businessman wants to be able to have access to his investments. The roads, the bridges that you see, that you watch in the video, are all there. So you have easy access to your investment. You can go to it wherever it is. If you're into agriculture, the roads to the agricultural settlements are already there. Of course, accommodation. You heard about Agro Lake Hotel. That means if you come to Anambra for your investments and you don't live here, you have a place to stay. You don't need to stay in a shanty hotel. You stay in a top-rated hotel. The one area that we've tried to do our best, but we still need a lot of work, is the issue of power. We need to provide more power for investments to take place. But I believe there is light at the end of the tunnel for that. We have one of our great sons, Cletus Ibeto, who's doing a gas plant in Omasi. You know, we have abundance of gas. And the hope is that once that plant starts, people like GE can bring in a generating plant where the gas will act as a feed for those plants. I've already been discussing with the governor on establishing an industrial park in that area. I think that's one of the legacies His Excellency wants to leave before the end of his tenure. But what we need to do more is to find out who are these industrialists, who are these investors. We're also going to plan to do a summit for industrialists to come down and talk to us, tell us what they need, what the state can do to help them, for them to come and invest. We're not asking you to move your investment from Lagos or wherever it's situated right now. We're saying, give us something, 10%. Start a new factory, start a new branch of your industry here in our state. The government can't do it all. The government cannot provide all the jobs needed to sustain our graduating youth. It's the private sector. We're here to partner with you to make your life easy. For some of you who like to come to Anambra and maybe are not able to see the governor, come and see me. I have an open door policy. Whatever proposal you bring to the governor, it doesn't end there. It's forwarded to ANSIPA, who will look at it. And I guarantee you I'll do the same for you. Just come. Pick up your phone, call me, tell me you're coming, send me a text message that you want to come and invest in our state. We will listen. Because the whole idea of leadership is to leave a legacy. Forget the 4 years, the 8 years you spend, and you're called excellency. What determines your legacy is what you leave after you leave office. What people get to say about you. What people get to say about your tenure. And that's what the governor wants to do. And I'm here to support that legacy. And thank you all for coming. The governor will thank you. I was supposed to give a vote of thanks, but I think he was so happy and impressed that he will now do that on himself. But I want to thank you for coming, and I pray that God will grant you journey messages back to your respective destinations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, we have come, we have seen, and I think we have conquered. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to invite the governor who drastically reduced crime in Anambra State, the governor who promptly pays workers in Anambra State, the man who is consistent in his pursuit of a better Anambra State, the man at whose instance we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, the willingly walking Willie, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Anambra State, Chief Willie Madu Abrochukwu Obiano. Put your hands together for my governor. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Anambra State, Dr. Nkemo Keke, I would like to stand on the protocols earlier established, unlike the panelists who sat on the protocols earlier established instead of standing on it. I am indeed very happy that we had this kind of attendance, quality people who stayed through from 8 in the morning, through breakfast to lunch, and now very late in the evening. I'm really deeply appreciative of this. I want to particularly thank Abu Ogidi, His Royal Majesty, for staying true from beginning to the end. It shows the quality of a man is. I'm not surprised. He's the Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University and the head of the traditional rulers in the whole of Southeast. Unanimous. So I'm deeply happy about this. So I thank the panelists, the presenters for an excellent job. I must tell you, your expose was very enriching, and we are going to work with it. I must thank Ike Choke for putting this together with his team, including Makatasi, Mark Okoye, Onejeme Fato, and some of the team members, that worked on this. I must thank all of you. But having said this, we came here for a purpose. That purpose is to win investors. I want, after this function, for investors to start trooping in. That's the whole objective. Minus that, I wouldn't have succeeded in this venture. So that is critical. And it's not gainsaying the fact that we've done well in security. So security is not your problem. So you can't be considering, should I be safe? Should my investment be safe in this area? No. Please come and invest. See the guys that have invested before you and they are doing well. The likes of Koskaris Farm, you should know who Koskaris is. As discerning as he is still doing business here in big volumes. The Victor Keke, the guy of Umumbo Farms, very elaborate farm settlement he had there and doing very well, thriving. In a place ordinarily people will say there will be herdsmen issues, but there has never been any in that location. Guys like Linden Farms, Linden Farms has been doing well for over 2 years and is putting one more train of the poultry. He is planning to put 9. He's at the 4th one now. By the time he does that, he will be one of the largest day-old chick producers in Africa. And of course, that goes with the processing of the whole chicken and what have you. But let me make a point from some of the some of the questions the discussants asked. On education, it's very clear in our mind that ICT-driven education is it. Where our students, even from primary schools, will be exposed to ICT, and we've, on our own, tried to equip a sizable portion of our schools. About 40 to 50% of our schools are ICT compliant. That means all the students there will have ICT and they are using them and what have you. But it goes beyond that. What we're looking for are investors, because we have the captive areas. We have schools that can take 5,000 people, 4,000, 2,000 people, and they have conference centers that can be remodeled to suit if you will, the ICT institutes, where software engineering will be developed and there will be issued certificates, and what have you. So we need investors in these areas. The government cannot spread itself so thin. You know, I have 2 years plus to go, so I have to look at my resources and focus on what I think I should put money on and leave and market the rest to the private equity investors to come in. In health area, we have very decent hospitals. I mentioned the Immaculate Heart that we recently opened. That Immaculate Heart Hospital in Aguleri can compare to any hospital anywhere in the United States. I can tell you that. Because most of the equipment came from there. And we're also building health, medical tourism. You know, we're doing helicopter landing pad in that hospital, like we have done in Onitsha General Hospital. If you go to Onitsha General Hospital now, you see a landing pad. The whole idea is that by the time the facilities are fully geared, you know, people from anywhere can be flown in, and they can fly in and be properly taken care of. You know, so we need good hospitals, either waiting or abroad, to adopt some of our hospitals, to adopt our hospital. You can come and adopt on the General Hospital and brand it. Let's assume you are one of the best hospitals in India or in the US or wherever. So instead of you know, allowing the traffic to come to yourself, you come here and establish so that the people can get the same type of treatment they are getting there. So it's important that people in this area look into those health things. You know, on creative economy, you know, like I said, we have ready schools, you know, trade schools and what have you, where we have captive members, large numbers of students, 5,000, sitting in one area with a large hall like this that can be converted to for creative economy and what have you, you know. I will pause here and also talk about tourism. There's something we're doing that most people here are not aware of. Concast, the people that fitted or upgraded our ABS to become the first digital radio plus TV broadcasting outfit, you know, they are also into entertainment. When Dr. Nick was talking about the film that was done in Rome and the impact, with what Comcast Nigeria Limited has, you know, just by in this arena only, you can do over 5,000 different backgrounds. So you can create that, the Rome you're talking about. You can create Aguleri, you can create Dubai, you can create, you know, they have plenty, you know, and that is what I believe the lady in Asaba doesn't have, which will encourage, you know, for proper pairing. We want to partner with Concast, and we need a second and a third partner to join us so that we can very easily finish this. We have the site, over 10,000 hectares of land by Ogbunike Cave where it will be located. You know, so again, we want investors in this area. It's a money-yielding event. It's a cash cow, and of course, you know, Anambra dominates the Nollywood, if you will, and there's no reason why we can't also dominate the shooting of the films here in Anambra State. Yeah, on tourism and culture, of course, the commissioner did mention to you about how we have upgraded Ogbunike Cave, Owerri Zukala, and what have you. And what I've just finished telling you about the 5,000 hectares of land already earmarked for tourist things, you know, hotel and what have you, the film village, you know, a complex, if you will, you know. The point made by Professor Ludo with respect to our international conference center. It will be ready in April, that facility. It will accommodate at the same time over 10,000 people, sitting capacity, 10,000. It will take over 10,000 people. If you have some time, you pass through there. They are working there at night, you know, and the contractor has been fully mobilized, and he promised to deliver this project in April, you know. And when that is done, it will pose some challenge for us. What is the exciting one? The exciting challenge it is going to pose is which hotel do you have that can take 10,000 people? How many hotels will you aggregate to take 10,000 people? And that's why we also created very close to the site and a big acreage for siting of over 5, 6, 7, 10,000 sitting capacity, 10,000 room hotel, if you will, even if minimum of 5,000, you know. I can tell you that that place will be fully booked all the time. I recall we couldn't hold the bar conference purely because of not having a capacity like that, and the logistics of bringing people from over 300, 500, 800 hotels all over the place, you know. So that's a poster too for you, for investors. This is a good opportunity for hoteliers to come around and put money there. Because we are secured, we have good roads, we have lights, nightlife activities, people will come. And when they come, they will stay in hotels. Now we've built the 10,000 stuff that will be delivered in April. You know, that creates this market niche that I'm talking about. You know, on agriculture, we're doing well, no doubt, but we want to move down the value chain. We want people that can invest in equipment, agricultural equipment, you know, to assemble tractors, what have you, all kinds of things that will minimize, you know, and from here you'll be able to sell all over Nigeria. So investors to come in that regard, you know. Of course, the icing on the cake, the contractor was here in the morning, the Anambra airport. For the first time, I can tell you with all confidence that work has started, and that only that have started, they've done over 1 kilometer of clearing already. 1 kilometer, and it's a 1.6. So it's a 3.6 kilometer runway. You know, and it's going to take the biggest of plane ever known to man. You know, and I can assure you, some people are doubting whether this is possible, whether we can do it. My answer to them is wait and see. You know, I don't join arguments when people are not informed or when they don't know anything, you know. But all I can reassure you is that that airport will be delivered in less than 18 months from now. So much has been talked about power, and I'm sure you, if you watched the clip on the power segment of the documentary by the Commissioner for Public Utilities, you see all the effort we are making with Transmission Company of Nigeria. You know, all those infrastructure and other power things, the group that spoke about power here, we're talking about, we made easier when those infrastructures are in place. If they're not in place, it will be more expensive for them to work in that direction. And they must know that we have, as one of them, Engineer Chike Okonkwo, who until recently was the chairman of our power committee. So he knows everything about, is it EG? Engineering or, and what have you. roads. We want investors who are willing to toll. We can give you some roads to manage. We toll it. You know, I can also, in liaison with the governors of nearby states, you know, get you a concession, you know, where tolling can be done in Anambra and be done in Enugu or something like that, you know. But those roads will be finished in state-of-the-art way, you know. So tolling is still on the table for people that want to invest. And that's the easiest part of investment. Banks like to fund it because they will see their money coming, you know. As you finish and you toll, every day you take cash to the bank, or your till in the bank will be ringing through your ATM card and what have you. Fiber optics technology. The pretty lady that spoke about it talked about challenges, and I've said severally to some people that came to us, Anambra will give you a right of way free of charge. And you talked about tax incentives, except for VAT, which is a federal government stuff. You know, when we give it to you free of charge, what other tax are you talking about? So that's not an excuse. Just come tomorrow and start work. You know, before I go, somebody has asked me when I took a walk out there, what this crest is all about. But let me teach you, because this is not a masquerade. I want to explain to you what it is. If you look at on top of the crest, it's an eagle carrying light of the nation. That eagle, you all know what eagle bird represents. It's a very bold, strong, far-sighted bird. You know, when he grabs heavy and can take you up. You know how eagle fights. That typifies the Anambra man. You know, that's why it's at the apex of that crest. Immediately below the eagle is the Niger Bridge, old Niger Bridge. Hopefully, the second Niger Bridge will be commissioned a month before I leave office, according to Julius Berger. You know, so I probably will also witness that one if that timetable is kept. For now, this is the only gateway to the east. You know, below the bridge is the River Niger, the blue, of course, from the source, from Futujalon, if you remember your geography, you know. So that's the River Niger, and it's brought life to so many communities in that area, including my own community, Aguleri, you know. And in the water, you see 21 shining things in the water. That represent the 21 local governments of Anambra State, you know. Then below, you see one palm tree on the right, one palm tree on the left. Palm tree in Igbo land depicts wealth. In those days, if your parents have palm tree, you know, forever you see every season it fruits, and you know, you sell and keep going, you know. The object in the middle is the Iwuku bronze, the Iwuku bronze, which predates the European civilization. Iwuku bronze, you know, our people were carving and making bronze before the Europeans learned how to do it. You know, you can see. It's here. You know, then below the Ibuku bronze is first a Kobo sign. Of course, some people normally say that the only way you can know that an Igbo man is dead is so you shake coins. It's not true. You have to shake dollar, not coins. Why are you shaking coins? You know, so this Kobo coin represents wealth and what have you. In the Kobo sign, is the Star of David. The Star of David with an eye depicts God Almighty. The average Anambra man believes in God Almighty in everything that we do, you know. And below the crest is the pumpkin leaf. Pumpkin is a vegetable that we have in Quantum that we export to UK and now to US, you know. And they grow predominantly in Onono, in the Anambra West, and many other communities in Anambra State, you know. And below at the wedge of the crest, you see two tusks, ivory tusks. You know, ivory tusks in Igbo land depicts royalty. It depicts royalty. You know, and the tapestry on the tusks shows the dexterity of the Anambra man. So behold, that's Anambra for you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Governor of Anambra State. Right about now, may we rise and pledge our allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria by singing the national anthem.
Be